Hi, my name is Lindsay Geller, and I will be reading a short nonfiction piece called IUDelightful. My birth control and I had been going through a bit of a rough patch. I began taking the pill shortly after I turned 19, lost my virginity, and decided I didn't want to skyrocket to fame via an MTV reality show. Determined to make it through the last months of my teen years pregnancy-free, I gave birth control the good old college try. For the first few months, I was responsible and took it at the same time every day. However, even with the help of state-of-the-art technology, aka setting a daily alarm on my iPhone, it wasn't long before I was slipping from my own schedule. As our 1-year anniversary rolled around, it became painfully obvious that we just weren't right for each other. Although I'm sure it had nothing but fond things to say about me, I no longer liked the pill. It required an attentive and stable relationship, which I could not provide. It wasn't the pill, it was me. I wasn't ready for a long-term committed relationship. I wanted the birth control equivalent of a friend with benefits. The main benefit, of course, not getting pregnant. I decided it was time to see other birth controls, and when my gynecologist introduced me to the tiny T-shaped piece of plastic called the Mirena, it was an instant connection. This intrauterine device seemed like the perfect birth control. I would get it inserted once and not worry about it for the next 5 years. She told me I had to check on it about once a month, but this was a minimal requirement compared to the ball and chain of the pill. Although I decided to get an intrauterine device because of an inability to take the pill consistently, I realized the effectiveness of the Mirena lay not in its technical excellence, although it is over 99% effective at preventing pregnancy, but in its ability to scare the shit out of any woman who has it inserted. My gynecologist warned me that it was going to hurt. She explained the process at least 3 times, once at my original appointment, once as a last-minute reminder before beginning the insertion process, and once when she was down in the trenches fighting the good fight. It's just going to be a pinch, a push, and some discomfort, and then another push, and then another pinch. Okay, she said. She showed me the Mirena, which suddenly wasn't just an inch-long plastic tee, but an inch-long plastic tee attached to a foot-long plastic tube contraption with 2 strings resembling a fishing line hanging out the end. Anchors away, I thought. Okay, I said. I then proceeded to stare at the ceiling and think of England. The insertion process was so labor-intensive it required 2 people, the gynecologist and her assistant. Unfortunately for me, the assistant was too busy watching the show that she wasn't doing too much assisting. After the initial insertion, I lay in excruciating pain for an extra minute while the assistant fumbled around with some tool which I'm sure did something important, but still have no idea exactly what. "Are you okay?" the gynecologist said. "Yeah," I lied. "How was the pain?" "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. I heard a noise resembling that of a crank and wondered what they were winding up down there. I now know they were dilating and undilating my cervix, but at the time I figured they were just reeling in the fishing line. Eventually, the cranking stopped, the strings were cut, and there was one final pinch as the long tube was pulled out. I was free. For the moment. I breathed out and remembered when my mother told me that giving labor felt like getting hit by a truck. She had neglected to mention that it wasn't just a truck, but a high-speed train running full speed ahead straight for the vag. If a tiny T-shaped piece of plastic can hurt that much, I thought, what kind of damage could a small watermelon-sized baby do? I realized for the first time that I might never want to know. The process was not just painful in itself, but in its implications. The true trauma occurred when I realized that having an IUD inserted was like being offered a mild preview of any future childbirth. To a woman who wasn't planning on having a child for the next 5 years, the process can make her seriously question if she wants to have one ever. If the pain from the original insertion isn't enough to deter every young woman from wanting to ever have anything go in, or worse, come out of that region ever again, the next day of pure agony will most likely do the trick. Since anvils have gone out of fashion, no one really knows what it feels like to have one resting on her abdomen. However, any woman who has had an IUD inserted can make a fairly accurate guess. After the initial few days of pain, I now get to enjoy 5 worry and period-free years, courtesy of the Mirena and its constant stream of low-dose hormones. I'm sure that sometime in the next 5 years, my IUD insertion memories will fade enough that the abstract concept of childbirth may seem appealing again. Of course, before that can happen, the gynecologist will have to remove the Mirena, and the process of extraction will probably remind me why I got it in the first place. Thank you for your time.